so let's go ahead and jump into the NBA over-unders for 2022. This is courtesy of some fucking sports book. Bet online. It's that time again. With the 2021 NBA draft and free agency in the rearview mirror, Bet Online has released every team's projected win total for the 2021-22 NBA season. The teams with the highest over-under entering the NBA's historic 75th season: the Nets, the Bucks, the Lakers, the Sixers, the Suns, and the Jazz. All of those teams are projected to win more than 50 games. The Nets are projected to be the best team in the NBA, and their over-under is set at 55.5. The Bucks are a game behind the Lakers, 2 games behind the Bucks, and then Philly, Phoenix, and the Jazz are all at 51.5. So I'm just gonna come out and say it. The Nets obviously should be expected to be the best team in the league this upcoming season. Talent is not an issue. Depth is not an issue. Coaching, I don't think, is an issue anymore. Steve Nash did a pretty decent job as a rookie head coach, which is something that I don't think people really talk about that frequently. And of course, he made some mistakes that rookie coaches tend to do that. We saw with Kenny Atkinson when he was a rookie head coach with the Nets, just like rotational issues, game plan issues, schematic issues more so than anything else. But I don't know how much of that he's involved in. Again, when you have a super team, the head coach's job is to pretty much just keep everybody happy. I don't know how heavily he was involved in developing the game plan, but I'm sure his input was obviously taken into account. But guys like Jacques Vaughn, Adam Harrington, Mike D'Antoni, I think they were responsible for bringing what they felt was the best possible game plan. But I think Steve Nash is going to be significantly better in his second year just because he's got it all under control now. He knows what it's like being an NBA coach, not even just a head coach, just a coach, because this was his first coaching experience ever. Like, I get he was a special advisor to the Warriors and shit, but this was a guy who fucking, before the Nets hired him, he was kicking around soccer balls and playing tennis and doing TikTok dances. So I think the adjustment period is well beyond the Nets, and I think if healthy, they're easily gonna smash the over. I would take the over 100 times out of 100. Maybe that's just me trying to talk myself into some optimism, but I think that I don't foresee any more freak injuries. Maybe things will change in the postseason. I certainly hope not. But a fully healthy Nets team is winning 60 games. Easily. Easily. I'd say, 62, 63, maybe even 65. Like, this team is absolutely stacked. As I talked about last week, they did a fantastic job during free agency as well. They just have to come together and compete. That's really it. Milwaukee is another team that I think is also being kind of underrated in terms of their projected win total. I think that Milwaukee is also a 60-win team pretty easily. Still got Giannis, still got Drew, still got Middleton. You got Bobby Portis back. They're pretty much bringing the same team that won the title. So I think 60 wins is pretty easy for them as well. I think it starts to get interesting in this middle section here. I'm talking Golden State, Miami. They're both projected at 48.5. Dallas at 47.5. Denver at the same. And then Atlanta, Boston, and the Clippers. The Clippers at 44.5. I don't know how they managed to fall this far, but this is fascinating. Oh, well, I do, because I forgot that. Because Kawhi's not going to play for most of the regular season. Okay, never mind. I take all of that back. I apologize. Yeah, this sounds about right. I think Golden State could be a 50-win team as well. Dude, what they did last year with no Clay, Steph Curry, just fucking shitting on everybody. I think that adding Klay Thompson makes them obviously way better. Even Klay Thompson at 50, 60, 70%, it's adding a handful of wins to their previous season total. And I don't know, maybe they go ahead and they pull the trigger on a Ben Simmons deal. I don't know. We'll have to see about that. But I think they're pretty much I don't want to say a lock to win 50 games, but that would be my prediction. I guess I'll go back because I skipped over the Lakers, the Sixers, the Suns, and the Jazz. I don't know how I feel about the Lakers, man. I think that they're a good team. Actually, I know that they're a good team, obviously, because they have LeBron and they have Anthony Davis. But I'm curious to see what their regular season holds because it can go one of two ways. They can either be the best team in the Western Conference, as this casino is expecting them to be, or they can easily fall behind Phoenix, Utah, and Denver as well. I think Denver is being a little underrated here. Of course, everything is contingent on the health of Jamal Murray. I don't know how long he's expected to be out, but if he misses the first half of the season, that's going to bring. Is it even going to bring their win total down by that much? I'm not really too sold on that, to be honest, because, dude, they still have the reigning league MVP. So, oh my God. In my fucking mouth, dude. Holy shit. Ugh. Okay. We got the Lakers, Philly. I think that, see, this is also interesting because the Sixers are expected to be better without Ben Simmons than the Clippers are to be without Kawhi. And not only like a little bit better, significantly better. They're projected to be, what is this? 50, 51 and 44. That's 7 games. They're projected to be 7 wins better than the Clippers. I'm not sold on that because Joel Embiid, obviously, I would take him over Paul George. But Paul George is still a very, very good player, an all-star caliber player. Damn near, I say, like top 10 MVP guy, potentially. I mean, he's done it in the past. He could do it again because there is no Kawhi, so he might have to do that again. But they've re-signed Reggie Jackson. Huge signing for them. I would take the 76ers down a little bit. I'm taking the under on this team 100%. Like, I think 48, 47, 49 wins in that area because as much as people want to underrate Ben Simmons, he's still a guy who's going to give you 15 points, 7 boards, 8 assists, and be a defensive player of the year candidate. They don't have anyone on that roster who can replicate that type of production. So I'm taking the under on the Sixers 100%, and I think I'm going to take the over on both Phoenix and Utah. Phoenix remained the same. Re-signed Chris Paul. Granted, it was to a fucking enormous contract. You keep Devin Booker. You bring back Cameron Payne. You get Landry Shamet from Brooklyn. You have McCall Bridges. You have Jay Crowder. This team's going to be up around 55 games. I'm 100% sure of it. I also think that the Knicks are a little underrated here. 42.5 wins. That would make them just barely above 500. I'm not sold on that. I think like 45, 46, 47. The middle of the Eastern Conference, like beyond Brooklyn and Milwaukee. And I can't even include Philadelphia in there if they don't have Ben Simmons. I really think that not having Ben Simmons really impacts them pretty negatively and pretty heavily as well. So I think obviously Brooklyn, Milwaukee are going to be the top 2 teams in the East. And then that middle section, now it's like 3 through 6. You have Boston, you have Miami, you have the Knicks, you have the Hawks, you have the 76ers. You could be surprised by a team like the Pacers, for example, or the Charlotte Hornets, maybe, but like 3 through 6. You have 4 of those teams, Boston, Philly, New York, Atlanta, fighting for those 3 playoff or the 4 playoff spots. And I think that those teams are very, very evenly matched. Boston did not do that much to get significantly better. The Knicks, I think, are being underrated because they didn't make any huge splashes in free agency. Yes, they signed Kemba Walker, and yes, they signed Evan Fournier, but those are not the big time free agents that people expect to come to New York. But even then, the team has remained mostly the same. And then you add those 2 guys on top of it. I think the Knicks could very well be the 4th or the 5th seed next year again. And then same thing with the Hawks. Like another year of development for Trae Young. John Collins is still a beast. Clint Capella is still a beast. You have DeAndre Hunter. You have one of the Bogdan Bogdanovic. The Eastern Conference is going to be very fun next season. We always talk about how the West is significantly more competitive than the East, and that's because it kind of has been over the last couple of years. Like we were cracking jokes because it was true. But I think the Eastern Conference, the middle of the Eastern Conference, it really beefs up this season, and we really see tight playoff races and coming down to the last game of the season. Maybe it won't be that way for, the 8th, 9, and 10 teams. But if the NBA is keeping the play-in tournament, I really don't know what to make of that. And then you have some other teams in limbo. The Blazers, the Bulls. I forgot about the Chicago Bulls. I would definitely throw the Chicago Bulls way more than 42.5, or maybe not way more, like 3 or 4 more. I would put them up to where I put the Knicks, around like that 45 through 48 range, because, dude, the Bulls, DeMar, Lonzo, Alex Caruso, Zach LaVine, and Vooch as well, Nikola Vucevic, obviously figuring out what's going to go on behind them. I know they have Kobe White, but just seeing their depth, I think, might be the biggest issue. But again, if you have those 4 teams fighting for playoff spots, like, I think those teams are pretty much guaranteed to be in the postseason. I don't think Washington, I don't think Charlotte, even though I just said they could surprise us, I don't think they're that big of a surprise. I don't think they're finishing 10 games over 38.5. I simply don't see it. Now, we talked about who deserves to be the best in Brooklyn. Now, who do we think is going to be the worst team in the NBA this upcoming season? So there are, 7 teams, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams that are expected to win fewer than 30 games. And they are from most to least: San Antonio, Cleveland, Houston, Detroit, Orlando, and OKC. OKC is the worst team of the bunch by 1 game, according to Bet Online. Either Orlando or OKC has the best chance to be the worst team in the NBA. And I don't think that this is going to be a shock, but I think that Oklahoma City struggles to win 20 games this upcoming season. Dude, let's just peep their roster, okay? It's not that Oklahoma City does not have talent on their roster. It's just that I don't think I've ever seen a team be this youthful and not fucking come out and just totally stink it up. Off the bat, we have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who the Thunder were talking about potentially moving at some point, which I don't understand why that was even a conversation. And I brought that up when these rumors first came out. I don't know why you're looking to trade your franchise centerpiece, because you're going to trade him, a proven product, a guy who's going to be an all-star this season, guy who's averaging 24, 5 and 5, or coming off a season where he averaged that. You're trading him for an unproven product, which I think is very silly. And then helping him, you have Derek Favors, and really everyone else is either super young or, actually, I can't even say old, because the oldest guy on the roster is Mike Muscala, who was born in 1991. He just turned 30, and I wish that Basketball Reference had the average age, because there are, oh my god, half this team was born after 2000. Oh god. I just found out that I'm an old man. 2002. That's, oh dude, it's so weird to see people born after 2000 in the NBA. I would be the 5th oldest person on this roster. You have Muscala, Favors born in 91, Kenrich Williams born 94, Gabriel Deck in 95, and then you have me coming in at 96. I'd be the 5th oldest guy on this roster. I would literally be a boomer to half this team. But with that said, this abundance of inexperience does not bode well for the Thunder, because we don't know what we're going to get from anybody. Obviously we know Shai is going to give us a great season. Derek Favors is going to perform well as well. But who else is in the starting 5? Of course, I think Lou Dort has pretty much secured himself as a member of the starting 5. But then it's who else? You have Alex, you have Poku, who's coming off a rookie season where he made a name for himself, but he didn't really put up the most impressive numbers, mainly just because, being a rookie and everything. But I think that, I don't want to say it, but I would not be surprised if this Thunder team was one of the worst teams that the NBA has ever seen in its history. I hope that doesn't happen, because the Thunder do not deserve it. But maybe trying to accrue as many draft picks as possible is finally catching up to Sam Presti, because we don't know the type of production we're going to get from this team. You're going to get maybe 40 points from Shai and Derek Favors, who are your 2 best players. And then you're going to have to find 60 points from the rest of your team. And not only that, you don't just need 60 points. You need 60 relatively efficient points. And then let's say Shea breaks out, has an MVP caliber season, averages 30. Okay, you're still going to need like 50 or so points from the rest of your team. And with this team where the experience is, this is sorted from least experience to most experience. We have a rookie, someone with 1 year of experience. Well, not just someone, we have 4 guys with 1 year of experience. And then we have 4 more guys with 2 years of experience. We have 3 more rookies, actually. I don't know why the rookies aren't just aligned all together. And then 2 guys with 3 years of experience. One of those guys is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Only 2 guys on this team will have more than 3 years of experience. This is a recipe for disaster. I am taking the under on Oklahoma City without blinking. It's just, it's going to be historic futility. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to say it, dude. This will be a historically futile team. The 2021-22 Oklahoma City Thunder will go down as one of the worst teams in NBA history. And it sucks that I have to say that, but I'm just going to get right into the flow and start spitting hot takes. This is not going to be a fun season for Thunder fans. You're going to get great play from Shai, but otherwise, I don't know, dude. I would not be optimistic about this team at all. And of course, we have other contenders. I think the Rockets, don't get me wrong. The Thunder are going to stink. The Rockets are going to be just as stinky as well. Same thing with the Magic, the Pistons. All of these teams projected to win less than 30 games, they're going to suck. They're going to suck hard, dude. It's just a matter of how badly can you suck. And I think that the Thunder are going to suck more than every other team. And it's unfortunate that I have to say it, but it's just the cyclical nature of how the NBA is. Like, the Thunder, back in the early 2010s, had this remarkable dynasty, this remarkable potential dynasty with Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden. Even though it did not get to the levels that people had hoped, it was a great couple of years with that team. And then even once James Harden leaves, there is still great things to discuss about the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then even like a couple of years after drafting SGA, they performed way better than anybody could have expected. I think now it just finally it catches up to them and they finally have a shitty season. But I do think that they will be the worst team in the NBA next season, and I'm really sorry about that. Anyway, so moving on,